What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another streaming recommendation video, this time for Hulu. Hulu is maybe not the most popular streaming service, but I feel like a decent amount of people do have it because its price point is basically equal to Netflix. Hulu costs about $8 to $10 a month, depending on if you want commercials or not. But the one pro to Hulu is that they automatically update for the channels that they have agreements with. So, for example, for Comedy Central, for South Park right now, their 20th season is on. But if you don't have cable, the new episodes of South Park get put onto Hulu the day after they air on TV, so you can actually keep up with it as it's airing. I'm not sponsored by Hulu, I'm not sponsored by any of these streaming services that I make these videos for. It's just I want people to know kind of what they're getting into if they decide to look into this streaming service after they find out some of the good things that it has to offer. Hulu is primarily a TV streaming service, I would say, but they do actually have a decent movie section. So this will be 10 movies that are good that are on Netflix right now to watch. But they also do have a lot of television selections, and they do make original shows like 11/22/63, which was really interesting, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. Alright, the first movie I want to recommend is one that if you have watched my channel for a while will not surprise you, but I've gotten a lot of new viewers. Welcome to all of my new viewers who are checking out this video. Thank you for watching. But the first movie is Sicario. Came out last year, stars Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin, and Emily Blunt. It is the story of a FBI sort of SWAT agent who then gets mixed up in trying to capture members of a Mexican drug cartel. It was my favorite movie of last year. It's absolutely amazing. If you like thrillers, if you like action, this whole movie is built so perfectly, and I own it on Blu-ray, and I recommend it to every person that I ever talk to because I absolutely love this movie. The next movie actually has a lot of similarities to Sicario. It is Silence of the Lambs. Now, these two movies have similarities in the sense that they're both about women who exist in a world that's full of men, but they're hunting down a violent criminal of some sort. But Silence of the Lambs is, of course, the story of an FBI agent who is searching for a serial killer called Buffalo Bill, and to do this, she has to talk to Hannibal Lecter, played, of course, amazingly by Anthony Hopkins, and he is a previous serial killer who was a cannibal and would eat the people that he killed. This movie is, of course, extremely well made. It's absolutely phenomenal. It won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress. It's just a great movie. If you like crime dramas or films that revolve around like police work, but they also are about the criminals that they are hunting, I would definitely recommend this movie. My third choice is a little bit of a controversial one. It's American Psycho starring Christian Bale. This movie has definitely a big cult following. I think that the people that like this movie really hold it dear to their heart because this movie is 100% a psychological thriller, really. And it's an extremely strange film. It's very violent. It's very based around this person that you can't ever really get a feel for throughout the film. Patrick Bateman, the character of Patrick Bateman, played by Christian Bale, is an enigma in himself. And I think that if you like movies that sort of keep you guessing throughout them, watch this movie. I have shown this movie to many friends, and it's pretty split. Some people really love it, and other people just straight up hate it. I think it's a movie very similar to films like Clockwork Orange or Natural Born Killers in that sense, where either you really enjoy the film or you think it's just smut and it's awful. To lighten the mood a little bit, I would highly recommend the two Bill and Ted movies, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure. These are both very funny films. I have my mom to thank for having seen these movies when I was a kid. She showed these to me and my sister. We thought they were funny. To this day, I have rewatched them many times, and I always think they're hilarious. Young Keanu Reeves is just so great to watch on screen. I personally am a huge fan of Keanu Reeves, which I feel like isn't something that most people would guess, because I don't think a lot of people are, but he's really funny in this movie. It's basically the story of these two kind of like loser, like, I don't want to say potheads because they never actually smoke weed in the films, but they're sort of like burnouts in high school, and they have they get a time machine, and they have to go back in time to do their history report. It's a very strange premise. You can tell it was definitely made in the 80s, but it's a really fun movie, and it's a great movie to just watch with a group of friends. The next film is another one that I can attribute to one of my parents for having seen, is the old Red Dawn. The new Red Dawn is trash, don't watch it, but the old one is really good. My dad showed this movie to me and my sister, probably at a younger age than we should have seen it, but I, to this day, hold this movie in decently high esteem. I think there are a lot of people that hate this movie because it's very hypothetical. There's nothing about it that feels very real. But it's basically the idea that during the Cold War, Russia actually invades America, and this takes place in this small town, and these kids all go up to the mountains, and they're kind of like these rebel guerrilla fighters against the Russians called the Wolverines. And it's a fun movie because they build this real camaraderie between the kids, but it also shows kind of the violence and the horrible aspects of war. And I enjoy it for that fact. Patrick Swayze's in it, a very young Charlie Sheen is in it, and if you like war films, I would say check it out. Now, I'm a fan of action movies. Sometimes I can watch an action movie that has no real reason to exist, it doesn't do anything that's really all that crazy, but it's just a fun time. And that's what this next movie is. It's Air Force One, starring Harrison Ford. This movie revolves around Harrison Ford playing the President of the United States and some terrorists, if I remember right, from Russia, being led by Gary Oldman, take over Air Force One, and he remains on the plane to try and save his family. He's a Vietnam veteran in this movie. This is a very fun action movie. It's sort of like Die Hard on a plane almost, because he kind of is like scrappy and he's trying to get through all these situations. It's a very fun film. Harrison Ford is good in it. It has a lot of those cheesy old school action movie lines. And if you like movies like Rambo or Commando or Predator or anything like that, watch this movie. It is a fun, old school, classic action film. Men, Women, and Children is a movie that came out, I think, a couple years ago, and was sort of marketed as like this social media real-time movie sort of thing where it's going to examine how social media affects us all in the nowadays. And in most places it's labeled as a comedy. I'm going to preface this by saying this movie is not a comedy. It maybe has a couple funny moments, but this movie is a drama through and through. I watched this movie on a whim, and it's very sort of depressing, but I think it also has a decent amount to say to how much technology actually affects us in this age. This movie got really bad reviews when it came out, and I don't think it's really justified. I think that this movie does take some risks, and it does get somewhat preachy at times, but I think as a whole, it's a pretty decent look at how technology really does affect us, and how, integral it is to being a young person in today's society. The next movie on my list is Midnight in Paris, starring Owen Wilson, directed by Woody Allen. I really enjoy this movie for its historical context. The idea is this writer is in Paris with his fiancée, and when he goes out at night, when he's standing at this specific street corner, he'll hop in a car and he'll be taken back to the 1920s of Paris. He'll hang out with F. Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway and all these famous historical figures. And it's a really fun movie because you get to see really famous actors in some cases play these historically, so larger than life creators like F. Scott Fitzgerald writing The Great Gatsby, a book that basically everyone in America reads. And it's a really fun movie because of that. Owen Wilson actually does a really good job in the film. Everyone else that's in it is great. I love Corey Stoll's rendition of Ernest Hemingway. He's really funny in the movie. And if you like other Woody Allen films, check this out. It definitely feels very Woody Allen-y when you're watching it. But other than that, I think that the thing that makes it so great is how interesting the story is. The writing of this movie is so good. It's very funny, it's very heartfelt, but it also feels so real even though the concept is so strange. This next movie has maybe my favorite Brad Pitt performance of all time, and that is Snatch. Snatch is the story of a crime lord in England who it's a lot of multiple storylines going on, but in general it's all these different storylines colliding around boxing, underground boxing, and the betting on the boxing, and then the bookies that are involved and the people that find the boxers, and it's all of this combined. This movie is hilarious. It's definitely dark comedy with great performances from everyone involved, and it's a very funny movie. It's Guy Ritchie, so if you like the new Sherlock Holmes movies, if you liked The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or anything like that, definitely check it out. I think that this is maybe his best movie he's ever made. It's a great time. Brad Pitt plays a gypsy in it. He's hilarious. His accent and the way he talks is so great. I don't really know how he didn't at least get like some award buzz around it. Maybe he did back when this movie came out, I don't know, but he was not actually nominated for any big awards, but he's great in this film. The last movie is a movie that I saw this year, but it came out last year, and it probably would have made my top 10 favorite movies had I seen it last year, and that is Love and Mercy, starring Paul Dano and John Cusack. It is the story of Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, and it tells the story of him as a young man, played by Paul Dano, and then as an adult, played by John Cusack. It tells the story of how he had some mental issues that sort of caused him to have a breakdown in his young life, and then in his older life he was very manipulated by people. And Paul Dano is absolutely amazing in this movie. He did get some award buzz. A lot of people thought that he should have been nominated for this film. John Cusack is surprisingly really good. I don't think John Cusack ever really impresses anybody, but he impressed me in this film. The way that they really bring together the idea of the music and the emotional context of his character and how like afflicted he was at different times from drug abuse or his own mental instability. This movie is so good, and it really makes you feel for this real man. Well guys, those are my 10 movies to recommend on Hulu right now. As I previously said in the video, I'm just going to throw out as a bonus, if you have Hulu and you aren't watching the new season of South Park, or you didn't watch the last season, definitely check them out. Even if you haven't liked South Park in the past, the previous season and the season that's going on right now are absolutely amazing, and I could not recommend them more. Other than that, I will be doing my first ever Amazon Instant Video recommendation this weekend as well. So look out for that. Well, as always guys, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of these movies. If there's any movies that I missed on Hulu, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.